Food insecurity is rising across the country. Food Banks Canada says visits have almost doubled in the last 5 years, and that marks a grim milestone. This new report shows food banks saw more than 2 million visits this past March. That is a staggering 1 million monthly visits, more than recorded back in 2019. Almost 30% of Canadian food banks report they are running out of food. For more on this, let's bring in Richard Materne, Research Director of Food Banks Canada and author of this report. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
These numbers are almost hard to wrap your imagination around, but it seems they have drastically risen in the last 5 years. Can we talk through why this increase is happening?
I sure have. The increase this past year is reflective and occurring against the backdrop of this ongoing affordability crisis. So people are facing what is like a 1-2 punch of housing and food costs, and that impacts their budgets greatly. And then any other emergencies they have or any other things the household need take a back seat, and food in particular takes a back seat. So that's one thing. And then we've seen a recent uptick in unemployment rates as well. And we got the combination of two things. It reinforces that the alarm bells are beyond ringing. We need change, and we need to do something to reduce the need so our system can handle it.
That 1-2 punch you outlined about affordability and then housing costs could be behind this number, and we've heard from other reports as well. 1 in 5 clients are employed. So what does that tell you about the struggles being faced when it comes to food insecurity?
So it's growing, and for every household, doesn't depend on any source of income anymore. So before, it used to be primarily those on provincial social assistance support, and that is still a key factor, is low provincial social assistance rates. But those who are working and the working poor have been growing consistently over the last couple of years, especially starting in 2022 when rapid inflation took effect. So it reinforces that a job on its own is not enough to put food on the table anymore, especially when faced with rapid purchasing power decline that we've seen. And we need more supports targeted to the working poor, and help also those who are working, and many across the board who need help paying their rent, because housing costs are also eating into many people's budgets.
Right, and when people are making the choice between housing or eating, we know from past research that sometimes people are skipping a meal. At what point are they starting to intersect with the food bank?
So usually what we see is when things get pretty desperate for a household, and unfortunately things have to be pretty dire before a household needs or feels they need to access a food bank. And what we've heard repeatedly through research is that despite struggling for a while, many households will delay accessing a food bank because, well, in many cases they feel others need it more, and they'll do everything possible in order not to get help. And this is reflective, unfortunately, of the level of need now we're seeing amongst the entire population, the fact that we're seeing record-breaking visits. At the same time, we're also seeing the highest rates of food insecurity in history. And we have a large proportion, almost half of the population, saying that they're facing financial difficulty. So it's not surprising that we're seeing record-breaking food bank visits at this time, given the delay in the time where a household might be struggling versus the time where they actually need to get help.
What kind of solutions are you proposing?
So there's a range of long-term solutions, of course, we continue to push for, including affordable housing initiatives, especially an expanded version of a Canada housing benefit, like a rent supplement that will help people in market rent, because 70% of clients are in market rent housing, and other long-term reforms around income security reform, expanding our employment insurance system for many who are getting laid off and are not being able to access those EI supports. But immediately, in the immediate term, we need a groceries and essentials benefit, and that's what we've been calling for. And that's an updated, modified version of the GST credit, and that will help people manage these rapid increases in living costs today, so they can manage to put more food on the table without having to access a food bank.
Those numbers are sobering, they are heartbreaking, and I thank you for delving into them for us, Richard.
Thank you.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.